Hi guys, welcome back to the Hugh Jeffries video, and in this video I'm going to be restoring this Samsung Galaxy S4, which I recently brought in a lot of Android smartphones, which I will be later restoring in future videos. And the first phone I'm taking a look at today from the lot is this Galaxy S4. It has a shattered display and a chipped and marked frame. Now I actually got two of these in the lot, so I'm going to be working on those today. I will only be restoring one of them, but we'll get into why I needed both of them later in this video. For now, I'll need to restore this Samsung Galaxy S4 back to factory settings, and that is done by holding the home button and volume up key while powering on the device, and we'll boot into Android recovery. From there, you can actually factory reset the device, which will wipe all of the content and all the passwords off of it, and you'll be able to set it up as a new device, which is what I had to do, as this was a phone that was sent to a recycling center, but it still had somebody's data on it, so I went ahead and wiped that, and now I can set it up as a factory device. Doing that, I can make sure the device actually functions, which it does, and you can see here everything seems to be working other than the damage to the screen and frame of the phone. Now I can shut down the device and begin working on it. To remove the battery, it's very simple. It just unclips from the phone once you remove that back door. That's a really neat feature about the S4s and S5s and a lot of the earlier Samsung phones. There is a few today that you can buy that actually still have removable batteries, but it's something Apple never did. Credit to Samsung for actually having that as a feature for many years. You'll need to unclip the frame after removing the screws. You can see there's a few components on there like the speaker, which will actually remain on that mid-frame. Next, I can start to disconnect a lot of these cables that go to different parts and components in the phone. The home button itself is connected onto the dock connector, so that'll need to be unplugged as well. And I can undo a heap of flex cables on the motherboard itself. And there's one screw actually holding the motherboard into the frame, and once that's removed, it's actually just held in by the cables, so it falls right out. The first thing that I noticed when removing this board that a lot of people probably missed was that the power button and volume buttons are soldered directly to the motherboard of the phone. So whether the battery can be replaced easily by the user isn't really important if the power button stops working and would require micro soldering to be repaired. Now for this repair, I do need to transfer everything inside of the frame into the new frame, which also houses the replacement display. Moving it along to the dock connector, thankfully that is removable in a separate piece, so if it needed to be replaced, that's very easy to do, which is something that can't be said about the Samsung Galaxy S10, as that's one piece and is connected directly to the motherboard, so it cannot be easily replaced. With all of the components removed from the old display, it's time to reinstall them into the new display. Now you may have noticed nothing appears to be screwed in. Now that's actually because the outer shell that screws down actually tightens and holds in place everything inside the phone. So once you remove that, everything sort of is just sitting inside the phone. Most of the components are quite easy to get to and aren't very hard to remove at all. The only downside to this phone is its plastic build construction, but I guess that makes it a nice way to be able to easily replace that battery. With all the little parts and components installed, I can reinstall the motherboard back into the phone and get everything connected up so I can test out the phone and make sure it's still working. I'd like to say at this point in the repair, everything was going fine and was very simple and easy to do. I didn't run into any hiccups until I tried to connect the display. It appears that the connection wasn't the same, but at a closer inspection, it appeared that the cable was just a slight bit higher, so with some repositioning, it connected and I could test out the phone. You can see that it's functional, the screen is working, the touch screen is working, and everything appears to be fine. So it was time to reinstall the back of the phone to complete the restoration of the device. With the mid-frame clipped in, I could reinstall the screws holding in the frame itself and transfer across the label itself, which contains the IMEI and serial number for the phone, which is just a neat little thing that I'd like to keep attached to the phone. I can reinstall the battery and back door. Now it's time to flip it over and test out the phone. Pressing and holding the power button, I found that it was completely dead and didn't show any signs of life. That's never a good sign, so I cracked open the phone again by removing all of those screws and putting in a test battery again, holding the power button, and mysteriously the phone turned on again. So whilst it was on, I decided to clip in the back of the phone as that was obviously causing the issue. Clipping it in, it seemed to be okay at first until I saw a flicker on the display. That got me a little curious, but I kept pressing and it's dead. Completely unresponsive on the display. There seems to be something seriously wrong. Not to fear, I connected up the original display because I thought maybe the connection on the motherboard itself was faulty. Testing it out with the spudger, it doesn't seem to be affected by anything. So I cracked out a second Galaxy S4 smartphone that I had laying around from that same part slot, and I thought I'd give it a go with that display, given it has a slightly different model number. Now, little did I know that there's two different editions of the Galaxy S4, which have entirely different CPUs, and I'm guessing that is the issue with the display. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but we're going to test it out with this phone to see if this makes any difference. So I'll need to go about the same process as I did the first time to completely tear down the device. Now, as I've transferred across most of the components, I'll only need to transfer across the motherboard at first to see if that makes any difference. The phone on the right is the one with the new display that we just installed that is having the issue, and the one on the left is a 9507 series S4, which we're going to be trying out and seeing if that makes any difference. To my eye, I can't tell the difference between the two models of S4. To me, they both look the same, but obviously there is some internal differences with the CPUs and some of the chips used. With the board now swapped over, I can connect everything back up and install a battery. Pressing and holding the power button, I get this weird screen where it just sort of detects the battery, but it just won't turn on. And that's never a good sign either. I mean, we're getting more than last time, but it's still not working. So out of curiosity, I disconnected the dock connector, and sure enough, the phone powered on and functioned. So it turns out the dock connectors between the two models of Samsung Galaxy S4 aren't compatible. So if you're looking to repair one of these, make sure you get the right parts for the right model number of S4 that you're working on, because connecting up the dock connector that came from the original frame, the phone powers on just fine and I can reassemble the phone back up. Although I still don't know if the frame will interfere with the display like it did with the previous S4 that I attempted to repair. With the screws installed, I can put the back on, pressing and holding the power button. It displays the Samsung Galaxy S4 logo, and once the phone's booted up, it works flawlessly like any S4 should. So it goes to show that you need to get the right display and right components for the model of Galaxy S4 that you own. I didn't realize this at the time, but luckily I had two of these, so I ended up getting to fix one of them, although I will be fixing the other one in a later video. Now though, I can remove the plastic film and cover from the Samsung logo, and we're done. So this is it, a fully restored Samsung Galaxy S4, which cost me $10 to purchase, and with a $65 display replacement and new battery, this S4 looks and performs like new. In terms of repairability, Samsung displays always tend to be a little bit more than iPhones of the same age, especially in the older generations, so that's always a downfall. The batteries in these older generation Samsungs are replaceable, which is great, but obviously the lack of replaceable buttons can result in very difficult repairs to be able to fix small issues like a broken power button. This device is running Android 4.3 as well. I should also mention that you may notice the display flickering on the video itself. That's not happening in real life, that is just my camera picking up the refresh rate of the display. It has no issues with the display cutting out like the other one, given its different model number, which appears to be for an Australian iPhone, which this S4 is. If you're keen on seeing more Android videos, they will be coming out in the upcoming months with the purchase of lots of Android phones, and I actually got given an LG G6 as well as an S5, a J Pro, another S4, and an Xperia X, which will all be coming in later videos, so make sure you stick around for those. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button and consider checking out the phone restoration and Android restoration playlists for more videos just like this one. Also, make sure to follow me on my social media, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.